the position. And based on our committee's agenda, and we will follow the agenda in order, based on that, we are at the point in time that we do introductions. And I'd like to, actually, we have 3 members that are joining us, new members that are joining us today. So we'd like to start off with introductions of those members. So, Ms. Walker? I'm not a new member. Okay, I haven't seen. I've been here numerous times. Okay, all right, it's just my memory then, okay? Leslie, if you would introduce yourself, please.
I'm Leslie Keeling-Olson.
Did you open the mic?
You're right. I'm Leslie Keeling-Olson, and I'm with Temple College, and I'm the incoming TACD president.
Okay. And Mr. Hawkins?
Hello, I'm Vernon Hawkins, and I am from Brookhaven College, Associate Vice President for Workforce and Continuing Education, and I am representing, I'm the past president of TACE, so that's why I'm here.
So we will then start with Mr. Arrington.
Good morning. I'm Joe Arrington. I am from McLennan Community College, where I serve as Division Chair for Human Services and Education Programs.
I'm Vernell Walker. I'm from Alamo College's San Antonio College. I'm the Dean for Academic Success, but don't let that fool you. I do have the majority of the workforce programs along with some academic courses.
James Chigwin, Tarrant County College. I'm an associate professor of computer science and incoming department chair.
Good morning. I'm Robin Garrett. Oh, did you want to say something?
No, I was congratulating James on the incoming chair.
Whisper in my ear. Anyway, I'm Robin Garrett. I'm the Deputy Chancellor of Academics and Student Success at Central Texas College.
Good morning. I'm Olga Valerio from El Paso Community College. I'm the Dean from Instruction and Workforce for all the career technical education programs.
I'm Rhonda Dozier from Texarkana College. I'm currently the program coordinator for cosmetology and former dean of workforce education.
Duane Shaw. I'm the Dean of Public Services and Industrial Technologies for Kilgore College.
Good morning. My name is Cindy Griffith, and I serve as the Vice President of Instruction for Alvin Community College.
We also have with us coordinating board staff, if you would, please.
Okay, Duane Hiller. I'm a program director here in academic quality and workforce in the workforce area.
Good morning. I'm Mindy Nobles, Assistant Director, Workforce in Academic Quality and Workforce. Glad to be with you all this morning.
Thank you so much to the coordinating board staff. It's our understanding that Duane will be leading us today in our efforts. And so, Duane, thank you so much. And it's just rightly so, since you've been with us for a number of years. So I am just elated that you are taking charge of this today, this meeting today. Okay?
Good morning, Madam Chair. This is Mary Adams from TSTC in Harlingen as well.
Thank you, Mary. I am so glad that you can join us.
Thank you.
Is there anyone else on the phone? Okay. Okay, with that, agenda item 2, consideration and approval of minutes from February 28th meeting. All of you should have received the minutes.
And just to put it on record, we did receive an email from Cindy Casparis that she was present at the last meeting and that she did elect to serve another 2-year term. So those corrections will be added to the minutes.
And James, you had something?
Yeah, I was not here in the February meeting, and I will like to serve another 2 years if possible.
Yes.
Thank you.
And Duane, the same for me. I was not present, and I think so I have to serve another 2 years because
Okay.
I'm the co-chair.
Thank you. And so the nominations will go to the September cause and October board meeting, and then they'll be up for consideration at those meetings.
And then they will be then formally notified of whether or not those consideration and recommendation will be then approved, correct?
Right, and we'll also probably be sending out a request for nominations to replace 4 positions that have resigned since the last roster.
And Ms. Doza, at the point of then, in February, you had said maybe, but now it's my understanding.
Yes, I'm willing to serve 2 years. Be glad to.
Thank you.
Are there any other comments on the minutes? With that, may I have a motion for approval of the minutes, please?
I motion we approve the minutes with the changes suggested.
I second.
Been moved and seconded that we accept the minutes as read with changes. All in favor?
Aye.
Are there any opposing? Okay, with that, vote carries. Minutes have been approved as read with changes. Third agenda item, we got no cards or anything for public testimonies. So number 4, coordinating board update, 86th legislative session.
Okay, and just to kind of refresh you, this agenda item is usually just called CB update, but when we sent the agenda through our process, the legal department said, what are you going to be updating? So I
Right.
had to have some kind of topic. But this will be a very general CB update, including some notes on the legislative session. Basically, during the last session, we had our agency analyzed 522 bills, and of those, 101 were signed into law. So, I mean, it shows you the amount of work we do here at the agency during the legislative session. We have several laws that affect our agency, a lot of them in financial aid and other areas. I kind of went through and picked out a few that affect specifically junior community colleges and workforce education. If you're interested in others, if you can look at the recording of the last coordinating board meeting held last, actually, I guess it'll be the next coordinating board meeting in 2 weeks. They'll be giving another legislative update on that. But the main thing in this legislative session, one of the main things is the formula funding across all sectors was increased by $915 million over the 18 and 19 levels. So in 2021 will be an increase in the formula funding. Now this includes the contact hour reimbursement and the success points. The community college success points was increased from $172 million to $172 to $214.7 per point. The board had recommended 215, which is just, so it got just a little bit less than what we had asked for.
$1 less, good.
And in the TSDC system, the return value percentage was increased from 27% to 36%. And the board had recommended 35%, so they're getting a little bit more than we had recommended.
That's where the other dollar went.
I'm sorry. Okay.
Yeah.
There are a lot of emphasis this session on student transfer, and Senate Bill 25 includes several changes that are included to ensure students' courses transfer and count toward their major. One thing in the legislation is now bills were passed that require all dual credit students file a degree plan to ensure that they are being adequately advised and that they're taking coursework that's relevant to their intended major. And no later than the second semester after they complete 15 semester credit hours, they have to file a degree plan. Sorry, looking through my notes. I think that's basically all I have about the legislative updates.
Well, just one comment before you move on to general coordinating board updates. Congratulations, Mary, on the percentage for TSTC.
Joyce, I'm sorry, I didn't hear you. I was adjusting the volume on the computer.
Oh,
and the
I was
phone.
saying congratulations on the percentage increase for TSTC.
Yes, thank you so much. We are happy about that.
Okay. Duane, again, when the dual credit, I think is, all of you know, I'm sure all of your institutions, like our institution as well, has increased the number of dual credit students, especially on the CTE side. And so to have them declare a major after 15 hours is something different, because I'm not sure if at your institution, students are asked to declare their major as early as 15 hours, or 30 hours, or 42 hours, or even declare. So this is going to be an interesting mandate for students to declare a major after 15 hours, especially in a dual credit setting, and if you're starting at 9th grade. And how many times that major is probably going to change between the 9th grade and the 12th grade that they'll be having. But we do understand that we want students to be on a pathway, and a correct pathway. But I do think that it has its good points as well as its challenges for community colleges. So that's an interesting, and that's if, is the coordinating board going to write rules to that? Do you have to write rules to that? At
That,
this point, you don't, it's just a
not real
mandate?
sure about.
It's a mandate for our colleges. Okay. Thank you, Duane. So you can move on to general updates now?
Okay, and I think we'll go ahead and just give a general Perkins
Okay.
update.
Okay, Perkins update. Perkins update. We are proceeding with Perkins 5 stakeholder outreach plans. I'll talk about that first. On August 2nd, we're going to be holding 2 gatherings here at the coordinating board. Now, these are outreach gatherings related to development of the post-secondary side of what will become the 4-year state plan for Perkins. TEA is the lead agency on that as the flow-through recipient of the federal funds, but we are preparing the post-secondary side of that document. 2 outreach meetings in the works will take place August 2nd here at the coordinating board. One will be a gathering of state post-secondary agencies, TAC, TACRO, associations, TAC, TACRO, TACD, TACE, and others. The other one will be a gathering of advocacy and services groups that support individuals in the special populations categories. This will kind of be the kickoff. We will follow from there to do a series of what we hope will be 8 regional stakeholder meetings around the state that will be hosted by colleges we've asked to allow us to conduct these there. And we're appreciative of those institutions that are agreeing to do this. At these regional gatherings, we will want to talk to CTE faculty, CTE administrators, representatives from business and industry in the region, including workforce board representatives. And we will want to talk to the extent possible that the host college can make it possible. We're hoping to be able to talk directly to students falling into special populations categories and their parents. So we will be asking a series of questions and listening to what people have to say on matters relevant to the required outreach for state plan development. So that's in the works. We are also in the process still of proceeding with development of resources for institutions to write their comprehensive local needs assessments which have to be done probably starting in winter of this coming year, proceeding into spring. Are not ready to make announcements yet, but we hope to provide some robust resources for those required comprehensive local needs assessments, which will drive people's Perkins Basic applications for the 4 years under the state plan. And then finally, I'm very pleased to tell you that our revamped Perkins Leadership Program, State Leadership Funds, has generated a lot of good interest. We've aligned it more closely with the goals of 60 by 30 THECs, the State Post-Secondary Strategic Plan. We've set up 3 competition categories, one focused on credentials attainment toward that goal of 60 by 30 THECs. And then field-based innovation and continuation grants. Interest was high. We received a number of very good applications. We are going to fund 12 of those applications. I think we've got some recipient institutions sitting here today. We're really excited about what we're going to be going forth with this coming year. So we have a very good leadership, statewide leadership program in place that you'll be hearing more about. Okay.
Mindy?
Thank you. Yes.
Did you say there were 2 events happening on August 2nd, or are you saying that those organizations are invited as part of the stakeholder event for TEA?
I'm sorry.
Clarification.
Let me clarify. TEA is the first author of the state plan as the flow-through entity for Perkins funds to the state. We are preparing the post-secondary side. As part of that post-secondary side, the coordinating board is hosting here on August 2nd the Post-Secondary Associations Gathering and the Special Populations Advocacy and Services Gathering.
Okay. Duane? Oh, no, Ron.
Duane, can I ask a question? Cosmetology.
We're getting there.
Okay, okay. I did not want him to leave that off the update.
It's gonna be here. It's gonna be part of that.
Let me go ahead and give programs of study update, if I may. We're preparing to send out nomination letters for formation of 2 career cluster committees. These are the 2 career clusters that our data show us have the highest number of majors across the various SIPs. You're frowning or looking perplexed, Mr. Shaw?
No, go ahead.
Okay, all right. We're going to form career cluster committees for IT and for business management. It is business management, right? We will also be reconvening the Health Sciences Career Cluster Committee so that it can continue with its work. So those requests for nominations will be going out to institutions in the near future. We will proceed expeditiously with formation of a disciplinary subcommittee for cloud computing. That is also in the works because we have a model curriculum to consider. Let me tell you finally that we're in the process of upgrading the content of our POS section on the Community and Technical College section of our website. We've moved the, we've posted the link to programs of study in our workforce initiatives section of the Career and Technical, the Community and Technical Colleges section of the website. And we will be posting the various approved POS curricula to this website so that they can be linked to, so that institutions can use them also in the very near future. And this is in response to some feedback we've actually received from TACTI this summer, so trying to be responsive on that. So, okay, so that's POS.
Yes. Has Eva left anything out?
I think that's it.
Okay.
Okay. Duane, anything else?
That's all we have. Thanks.
Okay. So at this point in time, we will hear from our colleagues at TACE and TACTI for updates.
Again, good morning. Representing TACE, we, in June 1, we transferred leadership from yours truly, who is president, I'm now past president, to Conley Kelly, who is now the president of TACE. Conley Kelly is in corporate services at Richland College, and the vice president for the next two-year session will be Christina Bergvall from College of the Mainland. We started at our last meeting working, it seems like this is something that never ends. We started working on next year's conference, which is kind of our main function is professional development for those people in continuing education, community services, and also technical education as well. Conference next year will be, the TACE conference for 2020 will be April 14th through the 16th here in Austin at the Omni South Park. It is the 40th anniversary for TACE. We'll be looking to invite back all past presidents to this conference, and we're working on having a really outstanding occasion to represent the 40 years of the Texas Administrators for Continuing Education. As far as agenda items for this year, we have a few things that we're constantly looking at and working on. But probably the main thing is the dichotomy or the differences between colleges and how they recognize the workload for continuing education faculty. We still have an issue with that within TACE, such as some colleges follow a 19-hour rule, some colleges follow 13 hours, and some colleges follow many different incantations. And we have been, for the last 4 years, trying to get some consistency across the state, which we have yet really to find anyone who wanted to step up and kind of give some administrative, or let's say some legal leadership as to what the number of contact hour that the load should be for faculty. So we're still working on that issue. And an issue came up recently that had to do with the organization that we're really looking into for the coming year of possibly changing our status. We're a 503c6, and we're looking to probably go to be a 503, I guess it's what, C3, which is much along the same lines that TACTI is, and we didn't even know till this past year that we had a different standard until we started getting charged taxes for everything we did. And so we're looking into possibly changing that status. Not really sure why 40 years ago, which is probably when it was set up that way. But we're looking at doing that. So with that said, I think that's kind of the update that I have for TACE at this time.
Vernon, are there any concerns that would need to be brought to this committee as far as WECM is concerned with special topics and or any other issues?
Yeah, recently I mentioned to Duane, and the past representative of this committee had said there would be a list of local need and special topics courses coming to the continuing education leadership to review, much like we did, I guess it was 4 years ago was the last time we did that. Be working with Duane on getting that list so that we can go through that expeditiously. Once we have that list from this body, that list of local needs and special topics, we'll go through it within a few weeks. We'll have that done. But yeah, that's one of my main issues today is to work on that and to get kind of a timeline set as to when I can have the TACE leadership go through that, which I'm sure is an exhaustive list of courses that we're going to have to review.
You, Leslie?
Thank you for the invite today, and I'm looking forward to being on this committee. TACTI's last conference, was probably the biggest conference we've ever had, and I would be remiss if I didn't give credit also to Rhonda and Duane for being here and being members of TACTI and helping in the planning. Duane was was the conference co-chair and was very involved in the planning process. We broke the TACTI conference out into 4 different tracks, and so we had a leadership tract, we had a dual credit tract, we had a Perkins tract, and then we had a faculty tract. And so I think we ended up with just around 250 people in attendance, and the largest conference that we had had to date. And so continuing on that, we've also realized that we need to make some redesigns. So during our June board meeting, we have funded some budget items for next year. So hopefully, we're in the middle of working on it, but that we will have a TACTI website redesign that will provide, instead of access and portals, different listservs, different subscriptions and things like that, and more information for our TACTI members across the state and for CTE programs across the state through our website redesign. So it's in the process. We hope for a September 1 launch, but it may be slightly delayed as we're working with the website designer. We had our June meeting, which was our annual planning meeting for the next academic year and for the next TACTI fiscal year. And during that meeting, we asked Mindy to come join us on Friday. And so we had a very productive, very open conversation and dialogue with Mindy about the coordinating board, about the TACTI conference, about CTE concerns across the state. And obviously, WECM was a topic of conversation. And I am sure the TACTI board members, just like many of you, have expressed concerns that we have a new generation of faculty coming in that sometimes don't even know what WECM stands for, and they have no experience or memory of what a WECM regional workshop is like. I'm sure you also have, those of us that have done it in the past, talk about how much of a learning experience it was. How much we as faculty understood curriculum, probably more so than ever by a WECM update meeting. Out of that conversation derived an idea that I will present to you, but please know that it is an idea in the works. So through this idea in the works, we wondered that if at the TACTI meeting and the TACTI conference that there needed to be a WECM update of some type or some kind. A lot of the conversation was directed towards computer information systems because you had to fast track the iCloud curriculum and the iCloud discussion. And so we are still in the processes. Duane is one of the conference co-chairs again, and so we are looking at what either needs to be done. Pre-conference will be Brunstein and Mindy combined, and we're very excited to have a pre-con of Mindy combined with Brunstein to address Perkins and the local needs and the needs assessment and the local plan. But we also see that those faculty that need a WECM meeting may not necessarily be coming to pre-con. So we look at maybe either a pre-con going on with also a WECM meeting going on, or even maybe a Friday when Friday is going on. We're trying to figure out what that is and how we can fill what has been expressed as a need, as a gap. How do we choose one area? We don't know. Does this grow into something additionally? We don't know, but we wanted to start finding out and seeing where we could address the issue and what we could do to help as a TACTI board. And so I look forward to comments from y'all and maybe some further discussion about this, to take back. We have a November meeting that will really be the kind of putting together the rest of the conference, and that will then be finalized. The upcoming conference is the first week of April, and so starts on Wednesday, April 1st, and will go until April 3rd. Any other questions or concerns for TACTI?
Okay. Thank you, Leslie. Thank you, Vernon. Leslie, you have expressed openly some concerns that have been expressed by representatives on this committee as well as faculty in institutions, that the concern has been relative to what was a standing opportunity for faculty to be engaged into a process of a network process across the state and looking at curriculum and also a professional development opportunity for them as well. And so these are discussions that the coordinating board has become very aware of and has been looking at opportunities for redesign of how we do that, and looking at opportunities in which this committee could also be part of that redesign. So we, in the coming months, we will, as a committee, start to look at that as a redesign, and how do we reinstitute those things that did strengthen us as a state and being responsive as community colleges to the needs within the state, and also at the same time providing not only new faculty but experienced faculty an opportunity to have cross conversations about courses and or content that needed to be updated. Although we have the welcome comments, and we will get to that because that's part of a subcommittee that we have as triggers, and it has been instituted for the last 3 years. However, we do admit, coordinating board and the Welcome Advisory Committee, we must admit it has not worked as well as we wanted it to or that it needed to in order for us to be as responsive as we once were. So thank you for that update. Thank you also for those concerns from both TACE and THECB. As we move forward, it does validate that this committee has a lot of work to do. Okay. Consideration of recommendations from the November 2nd, 2018 Cloud Computing Workshop. I think Mindy provided some intro about that as a result of what the coordinating board will do as a result of the workshop. But I would be remiss if I did not publicly thank Dr. Sherry Reynes that has just joined us, that helped put that workshop together of 20 faculty, and thank you, committee, for making those recommendations from your colleges of IT faculty. I thank Robin Garrett for being a facilitator also at that meeting and volunteering her time, because not only is that part of her expertise background, but she is also a master facilitator. So,
Thank you, Joyce.
Dr. Reynes, would you like to add anything as a part of the recommendations, or to tell us input about how the workshop was formed, since we have an opportunity publicly and also for this committee to be able to see some shape of redesign that could possibly happen that was not truly about a welcome workshop, but more along those lines?
Well, thank you, Dr. Williams. I just wanted to say that the idea for this workshop really stemmed from Joyce and Robin, and the notion that we could move from a conversation, an informal conversation, field conversation, about the course level content of cloud computing to what a degree program or program of closing in on a program of study, but a degree programs may look like in cloud computing. It was a day and a half of intense work by the folks who represented institutions across the state, and has led us to the conclusions that Mindy suggested earlier, that it would make good sense to continue this very strong work in an area which I'm pleased to say just got recognized as a zip code, actually, in the revised zip code system. Cloud computing has its own number now. So again, kudos to members of this committee who have been thinking about this and are way ahead, I think, of the field in some ways in the conversations we've had statewide.
Thank you. And where where we were November 2nd, I think this committee saw that we had, in November 2nd, 2018, we had colleges come together along with industry and look at recommendations of new courses. And that was the part of the WECM workshop in which several of you participated. James and Cindy also led and facilitated that workshop in November. And as a result of that workshop, of writing new courses and also revision of current courses in the WECM that needed to be updated based specifically only on cloud, we then had the recent workshop. And Duane has brought up courses that were discussed as part of, based on the skills that were identified by employers and also the local job market area. Hats off again to the coordinating board for bringing in content experts to share with us data that was from a state level. TWC provided data that gave us the number of job openings, the type of skills that was there. We had representatives from Dallas County Community College. Their LMI Institute provided not only jobs that were in the Dallas-Fort Worth area, but also within the highest metroplex areas within the state, and a number of those. So if you all want copies of that information as you look at feasibilities for your colleges and being able to look at this degree plan, then we will be able to provide that as well. So as a result, what you have in front of you is the information that the faculty came up with. Well, the information that was in front of you is that the faculty came up with as a recommendation that will be moved forward, as Mindy has stated about the program of study committee. This will move forward as a possible statewide curriculum to the program of study, IT program of study committee, for consideration of starting a cloud computing, a statewide curriculum for cloud computing for an associate's degree. So with that, I ask you and I implore you to, when those nominations go out, that you submit some names from your college to be a part of the programs of study IT committee, so that the state and community colleges can step up and respond to the needs in cloud computing across the state, because this process will have to go through the POS for them to approve a statewide curriculum. Yes, Joe.
Just in looking over the courses, first, I make no claim about cloud computing competency. That's to other folks. But just in looking at the structures as they were presented here, I had one question about the ITSW 1X07 course. It's the first page in the packet here, and it simply has to do with the way the contact hours are listed. If you'll notice, the zero version of that, the 1007, has a contact hours of 60 to 112. When you look at the rest of the courses, the contact hours for the zero versions align with the contact hours for the SCH versions. This is the one course where that doesn't happen. And I'm wondering if that's intentional or if it was just a typo.
It is probably one, and I will just take a stab at this, and of course Duane can correct me, but it's probably an error if it's intended to be a mirror course, because it's a non-credit course. If it's intended to be a mirror course. If it is a standalone course, it can certainly be that. And so we have to figure out whether it's a mirror course or it's a standalone course, and it was just put in the same database. Duane?
I think, yeah, I'll have to look into that. I do believe it is just a mistake.
Just an error. Okay. Thank you, Joe, for pointing that out. You always seem to find those things, but that is the one reason you are on this committee, to keep us all straight. One thing that, so as we start to look at the considerations, I asked that at the last committee, on behalf of the facilitators that were there and the faculty, there were new courses written, and with the recommendation of those courses being added to the WECM. There were revisions, as you will see, that were proposed and recommended for those to be changed in the WECM. And at that point in time, this committee asked Duane to move forward and put those in the WECM and take a look at that. I think Duane is bringing these back to us to show us where he cleaned them up. And Joe, thank you so much to look at Duane's housekeeping. And now he's bringing them back to us as he has WECMized them. And they are now ready to go into the WECM. And as I understand it, he's asking us to approve that they can now be put into the WECM.
Question. What's the new SIP code? I believe she said there was a new SIP code. What's the exact SIP code? Is that the one listed on here? Is that the new cloud computing SIP code?
No, that's the current, that's just the default zip code we have on here. You know,
No, offhand, I don't remember it.
Oh, okay.
No, literally, it's just a couple of days ago that
We just a couple of days ago learned that.
Madam Chair, I just want to, since Dr. Nicotera is not here, I wanted to bring forward a comment that he had made about ITNW 2329, 2429. It's the last one in there. And just to recognize his comment and what we want to do with that, he noted that 2329 has the same amount of contact hours as 2429, 64 to 96. And if that needed to be different or if that can stay the same, just to respect his comment.
Okay?
Madam Chair, I also noticed there are actually several of those. The event, and it is a little confusing. I don't know that it actually fits the protocol that we've had in WECM before on the contact hour ranges being
right, and what I
between the
remember
3 and 4.
is when the committee actually just wrote a 4-hour course, and they didn't have the number, they just had 4XX. And so I added the 3-hour course just to mirror the 4-hour course without any information on what contact hours to use. I just used the same scale. So if we have any, I guess basically anyone who wants to use these courses but wants to use a different number of contact hours, they can just submit a WECM comment and then we can increase the range as needed.
Okay, well, go ahead.
And on ITSE 1359, it doesn't have a mirrored course. Is there a reason for that?
It doesn't have a 4-hour course.
Or a mirrored course? Or a zero?
Or a CE course.
Right. Is that intentional or is that just an oversight?
Oh, 1359. I believe since that's an existing course, it was probably archived due to non-use, the 0 and the 4.
Okay.
So again, if someone decides they want to use a 0 or 4, they can just submit a WECM comment and then we'll reactivate those courses.
Thank you.
And just since we are public, Duane, just so that everyone, and also this committee members will know, there has been a standing practice, as some committee members have noted, that when we have a 3-hour version, we usually have a 4-hour version as well of a course.
Right.
So that everyone will understand why you wrote had a 4-hour course that mirrored the 3-hour. But also, what we have done in the past is that if there was a 3-hour course, the minimum hours were always 48. However, because of the fact that these are written as cloud courses, which then require a lab, what the instructional faculty wanted to do was to ensure that whoever, because they are proposing this to be a statewide curriculum. And they wanted to ensure that it would be the same, so that if a person if a college decided to teach this as a 3-hour course, that the lab would be there at a minimum of 64. So I think that is the reason the 3-credit hour is at 64, because this is a computer concept and the lab needs to be taught. Now, I do not know why the 4-hour is at a minimum of 64, but I think that's because they give them that option of also being able to teach it at a 4-credit hour as well. So, because, again, these courses are also currently existing courses at colleges. So had it, and they are already existing courses, and some of these are existing courses in the WECM. Some of these are new courses in the WECM. So that was the concern of how it would impact colleges. Now, the new courses, that's up for conversation at this point. I'm not sure, Duane, I do understand what you're proposing, that if someone wants to teach it at a different level, then they write a comment and then we change it. That takes us to too many different processes, and remember, we're trying to narrow this process down.
Madam Chair. Go ahead. Based on what you mentioned about ensuring a lab is included, if it is a 64 contact hour, 4-credit hour course, that's 4 lecture, 0 lab. So maybe the minimum should be increased to 80 to ensure that there is a lab on the 4-hour. I'd like to make that recommendation.
Okay, any discussion?
Oh, and I just want to point out that the committee that wrote these courses set it at 64. So
Did they set it for a 3-hour and we just added the 4, or do they set a 4?
I think they said it as a 4-hour.
And you
Because these
just
are based
added the
on,
3.
these are based on local need courses.
Okay, well then,
So
Well, if you look at the outcomes on the 1309, 1409, they're all identified, described. None of those on that particular course would be outcomes that would
Okay.
require a lab on that particular one. Now, some of the other more advanced courses, you're correct, where they have to
It says
design,
lab,
where they
lab.
have to design, or some of those other types of deals.
Right.
So I don't know if there's a blanket.
There you go.
Yeah, we'd have to look at each one of those. And I think that comes back to some of that facilitating during,
I think it comes back to
having
the
some of those
summer
folks.
facilitating and professional development, because if you look at the course ITNW 1336 and 1436, at the bottom it says lab recommended.
all of them say lab recommended.
So again, it is the opportunity to have WECM workshops that we're missing out on, to be able to have those facilitations through this information, and that helps.
Dr. Griffith, you were the lead of writing these courses. Do you recall what the intent was?
it was merely 9 months ago, I'm sure.
Yeah,
you'll-
yeah.
I'm going to say, I don't recall that, all of the conversation on that, but these were created as 4s, correct, Duane? And so they were focused in on the 4-credit hour, and so when the 3 was added, those numbers, again, became the same. So I don't recall a discussion about a 3-credit hour course whenever they were creating these.
What about the lab component? So if it's a 4,
They definitely felt like that the labs were needed on these courses.
so set up the way it is, it wouldn't be a lab, though.
Okay, I know that this has been proposed since November of 2018, and so I am really hesitant about trying to hold this out until we meet again for a vote. So I'd like to take Duane's recommendation that we move this forward, put these in the WECM, send something back out to ask about the attention, and see if we can then make changes. While I hate to do that, I hate to keep these sitting outside of the WECM when they need to be used, especially these new courses, when people are trying to offer these for fall.
Madam Chair, in looking at the sheet that I think you were looking online, well, I've got the hard copy. The courses at least fit within the parameters. I mean, they do fit the definition there. If the intent was to use the hours to force a lab, maybe, maybe not, but at least they are within parameter on that. Also, while we can say lab recommended, correct me if I'm wrong, it's really up to the institution to mandate that or not. So while we can set limits and such like that, we can only go so far down that road. I guess while I may have some concerns as you expressed, I don't see a reason not to, because they do fit at least the prescribed hour parameters.
And and there is a second opportunity, because these courses are in the proposed statewide curricula that will be going forward to the Program of Study IT Committee, in which then those recommended hours, contact hours, could then be addressed there as well for changes. So there is another possibility of being able to get that changed. Duane?
Well, I was just going to say, since I basically wrote the courses based on protocol, the 3-hour courses based on
Right.
protocol, protocol would dictate that it be a minimum of 48. So we could set them out as 48 and then decide later if we want to change them. If I guess that's more in line with protocol.
Yeah.
And that also more in line with many of the courses, such as the one before it, ITSE 1329 is 48 to 128 on the previous page. That's an existing course.
And
So,
the database is different, though, it's 64.
right, and some of them are specifically for the purpose of,
Instead of going back to a base of 48, do you just need to change it to lab required?
The WECM cannot mandate
Okay.
lab required. The strongest we can do is recommendation.
So if it's above the 48, then we need
force
to
it.
change it. It forces it into a lab required. So do we just leave it that way, even though it says lab recommended, and just force it into it with the hours?
That was the intention. However, at this point, it is not set that way. It's set that way on the 3-hour, but not on the 4-hour. And what Duane is saying, based on protocol, the 3 hours should have been a 48. But what we were trying to do was build a statewide curriculum. And so we're hoping, and probably with the help of this committee and those that are listening, to have this healthy conversation. If they are nominated on the POS committee for IT, they will take in consideration that cloud courses must, and the employers demand that there is a lab. So they will change these hours to ensure that there is a lab component that is part of that. And so maybe that will come out of the POS recommendation for changes and be able to adhere to that. So at this point, Duane has a recommendation, is bringing forth a recommendation to this committee also for consideration to go back and make the change to 48 on the 3-credit hour to follow protocol, because the 3-credit hour course did not come out of the instructional specialist, but because of protocol that there should be a 3-credit hour and a 4-credit hour, he's asking if we would approve for these courses to go in the WECM, the 3-credit hour be changed to 48 as a minimum, and the 4-credit hour stay as is, and hopefully the coordinating board with the guidance and talking with the POS committee will look at recommendations to ensure that the lab is included in the contact hours so that we can continue with a statewide curriculum. So recommendation is, I'm going to repeat, and Duane, correct me if I'm wrong, that what he has presented is a revision and new courses that are written the 3 credit hour version be changed to a minimum of 48 hours on the new courses, And all other changes be accepted as done and recommended from the committee, and new courses be accepted as written. That is the recommendation. Oh, and I'm sorry, and the correction noted by Mr. Ayrton of the non-credit version of Introduction to Database ITSW 1007, from 60 to 64. But is it an existing course already? Then we can't change the existing course.
Madam Chair, that would also change the ITNW 1009 to 48 as well on the minimum.
All of your non-credits would also go to 48.
All of mirrors for the new courses.
Correct.
Yeah, all mirrors for the new courses would also go to the minimum hours. 48. Thank you, Ms. Shaw. Thank you, Dr. Griffith. So with that, there is a recommendation that is put forth to you. So can I hear a motion to accept the recommendation of the coordinating board staff so that we can put these courses in the WECM?
I move to accept that recommendation.
Thank you, Mrs. Shaw. Can I get a second?
Second.
It has been moved and second that we accept the coordinating board recommendations of the changes that were submitted by instructional specialists and employers at the November 2nd workshop for cloud computing, for new courses and revision of courses as WECMized by the coordinating board staff. Can I get a vote for those who approve this recommendation? Please. Aye. Any one who desires not to approve this recommendation? Mary, are you there?
Yes, I voted yes.
Okay. Anyone
you.
voting no? Okay, with that, recommendation carries. Coordinating board staff, Duane, and again, Dr. Raines, thank you for your support. And Mindy, of course, thank you for always being there. So with that, Duane, are we clear?
Yes.
All right. Okay, now we're coming, you thought that was something. Wait till we get to number 7. Consideration of recommendations for program of study subcommittees to archive WECM courses. Mindy, is that you?
Well, no, that's, this is the same report I gave at the last meeting in February with some changes which are highlighted in yellow, and the actual course changes are included. But wanted to point out, I believe it was a recommendation from someone on the committee that we include on all of the archive courses where the outcomes were put into another course, that those be cross-referenced to the new course. So I've done that on the first two, the CNBT 1201 and the CNBT 1309, that shows where those outcomes were moved before those courses were archived.
Okay. I'm sure Olga has some comments.
Yeah, because
Yeah.
Or
the comments that I have is for drafting. Yes, the comments I have for drafting and especially for the dual credit students.
okay. I was
This
about
is-
to go into the drafting.
Okay, good.
There were some
Get
pretty
ready to
major.
explain. Go ahead.
Yes,
So, source, again, civil drafting, it was a change in level that went from like advanced to introductory or, so that required the number to be changed to a, and I can't remember if it's intermediate or introductory.
Okay.
But that's why that course is listed as archived. Now, I did report that those two courses, drafting 1315 and 1325, the actual recommendation from the subcommittee was to incorporate those outcomes into a new course.
Yes, that
But
was
the
recommendation.
subcommittee did not actually recommend, and they actually did not want to recommend that those courses be archived. So that was kind of a mistake on putting them on the list in the first place.
So these two need
So-
to be removed?
So that's showing that those two are not recommended for archive, the 1325 and the 1315, that those
Okay.
are still valid or active WECM courses.
Okay,
But that the course in the program of study, and I believe it's the 1305, incorporates the outcomes from those courses. Just to be sure that the outcomes would be included. Those courses, those two courses are not in the program of study, but they wanted to make sure that the outcomes from those courses were included in the program of study. So they were put into that course.
okay. So they're
And-
not, so would it be duplicate content out there? Yes.
Most likely,
Yes.
except I think the POS course will have more content,
Okay,
additional content.
okay, so,
And that's, I believe the comment from last meeting was, these courses are used in other programs other than drafting,
Yeah.
and so they may not require as much content as the program of study course would.
gotcha. So
So
the
that's-
program of study is a heavier, more rigorous course. I wouldn't say by nature, but by content, because it has more content outside of these two courses. Okay,
Right.
okay, got it.
And I don't know if that addressed your concerns or if you had other concerns.
Yes, the 1309.
Okay,
That's on the courses to be revised?
right, and actually, I looked through my notes, and that was another case where they said 1305 and 1309 should be combined. But in actuality, 1309 itself was not revised and not archived, so 1309 just remains as
So
is.
1309 is not
That's why it's
archived.
crossed out on this list.
Okay,
remains.
well, that's good, because that was a course that impacted lots of dual
A
credit,
lot dual credit. Yeah.
not archived. Our faculty is gonna be glad to hear about that. All right,
Okay, and the remaining courses, the dental hygiene course, 1327 was renumbered. Oh, I'm sorry, before I go on, is that
is that
everything?
it for?
Any other for drafting?
No, that's it.
Okay, so dental hygiene was changed from a 3-hour to a 1-hour course. Respiratory therapy, those are the courses that had pretty much the same outcomes or very similar outcomes, and the titles were very similar to each other, so they just incorporated all of the outcomes into the program of study course and then archived the duplicate courses.
And when are these effective, Duane? These
They'll be in the
archived and
WECM September 1st this year, 2019.
So
So there'll
this
be
is
a
effective.
year of incorporation.
So that means these will have to go away, the ones that are archived are going away, August 2020.
That's right.
So we have a year, colleges, we have a year to implement. Anyone else has any strong concerns? Okay, because he's
And as I say, the
asking us-
rest of the packet is just the track changes versions of the changes that were made to those courses.
Okay. He's asking us to approve this, so I need you to express any changes, any concerns that you have at this point for discussion purposes. Mary, are you there?
Yes, I am. They look good.
Okay. You okay with the drafting? I know TSTC does several drafting classes.
Yes.
Okay. Any other discussion before I call for a motion? Well, I don't hear any discussion, so it should be a really quick vote.
I have just, This is just, I'm trying to play it in my head. So if they have to declare a dual credit, that was our big concern. You know, a lot of these courses were used in dual credit. So if they're going to have to declare a major, is that going to change that? I mean, are those courses going to be in programs, or are they just courses out
Yeah,
there?
these courses are going to be in the program. So the 1309, which was the biggest concern, because it had the largest number of students that were enrolled for dual credit. It is no longer going to be archived.
Right.
Okay, so it's going to remain there. That's not going to be impacted. There are no changes. The other courses that are the program and the program of study, that program of study will go into effect August 2020. I mean, when I say that's the must date. Colleges can institute it September of this year, but 2020, that is the program of study. That is the point in time that the high schools, for your dual credit, that is the degree they will be declaring.
Okay.
So
The
those are the
program of
courses.
study, okay.
Right.
Yep, that's what I was, so that particular program may or may not be elected or selected in the program of study. If you view it, it's not. Okay. That's what doesn't
But
make
it's part of other programs.
Okay.
It's requirements of other than the
Right.
The blueprint reading and sketching, that's the one is required in different kind of programs.
And this course, if this course is not in the drafting one, the student would not declare that program of study. They would require another program.
Right, okay, that was what I was trying to.
Because it has to lead to a degree. And it always had to lead to the degree legislatively. If they were taking CTE courses, it had to lead to a degree and/or a certificate. So that is not a change. I think they just made it very clear that at 15 hours, it should be. Okay?
Just a reminder, the legislation for the program of study is not as stringent as it is for like field of study. If the college decides to adopt it, it's voluntary, then they must use those courses in the program of study, like for drafting. But the colleges are not required to adopt the program of study.
Well, it's kind of like field study. We don't really adopt field study.
Well, I mean, it's like
So it's the
if
same
you teach,
thing.
I think it's if
We
you
have to-
teach,
Yeah, if you teach.
if you
them-
teach it, then you must teach the field of study.
Right.
But in this case, if you teach a drafting program, you can teach a different program and not. But if you do teach a program of study, you must teach these courses and accept those courses in transfer.
Okay. So with that, I'm going to ask for a motion to accept the recommendation.
Can you hold one quick second as I'm looking something up?
Okay.
I'm confused by dental hygiene care is what I'm looking at. It says it went from 1327 to 1127, but I'm trying to figure out what happened to 3227 to make sure that
That would be a different course.
Oh, 1227?
yeah, 1220. Did it also become,
No, there's no change to the 2-hour version. It's just that the 3-hour version was changed to a 1-hour version.
The 3-hour version goes away.
So you have a 1 and a 2.
And
You have a 1 and a 2. You no longer have a 3. Yeah. You don't have a 2 and 3. You have a 1 and 2 now.
right.
okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
And again, just before the vote, I'll go ahead and remind everybody in their listening audience, once the courses are in the WECM, September 1st, we have a year, kind of an interim year that we will receive. We will welcome any comments that anybody will have. Of course, courses have already been commented on during the program study process, but if anybody didn't have a chance to comment at that time, then they can comment during the year and those in the interim year between September 1st and August 31st.
Okay. With that then, colleagues, I'll call for a vote of, I call for a recommendation, exception of the recommendation, a motion to accept the recommendations from the Coordinating Board of Program of Study Subcommittee for archiving and revision of courses as presented by the Program of Study Subcommittee. So can I get a motion, please?
I make a motion for approval.
Thank you, Ms. Walker.
A second.
It's been moved and seconded that we accept the recommendations as presented by the Coordinating Board from the Program of Study Subcommittee to archive and/or revise courses that were presented as part of the drafting, dental hygiene, and respiratory care programs of study. So I'd like to ask for a vote, please, on that motion. All those who are in favor, vote by saying aye.
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 Thank you, Mary. And those who are against by stating nay. Okay, with that, it is approved that we accept the recommendations presented by the Coordinating Board, the Program of Study Subcommittee for archiving and/or revising programs of studies courses that presented as program of study for drafting, respiratory care, and dental hygiene. Am I missing anything else? That's it, right? Construction. Thank you. Wow, that was not as painful as I thought. Okay. Okay, yes. Thanks for the clarification from Duane. Yeah, he did make it a lot less painful. Thank you. Thank you, Duane. As we move on to number 8, and after this, we'll probably take a small break. We may need it after this one. Report from the Special Topics and Local Need Course Review Subcommittee. And Dr. Garrett, would you please do the honors?
Okay, sure thing, Madam Chair. In reality, this subcommittee was the comment subcommittee. We really didn't have a special topic and local need subcommittee formed yet, and that's going to be part of my discussion when we talk about the protocol manual. And this will kind of lead, and we might end up doing it all at the same time here. But this committee worked virtually to review the comments that came through, and I think I had my email, I think Joyce stole it, of the data. Take that back. Yes, this one.
Okay.
There were 48 WECM comments evaluated, and of those 48, there were 12 action items that came from this committee. The committee included Rob Blair, Frank Graves, Joyce Williams, and myself. Most of the recommendations were that there needed further review. There were several that came up, and it's in your packet, of recommendations for WECM workshops. A lot of them we looked at and thought, well, we need to evaluate whether or not there are local needs and special topics submitted and what the content of those were to ensure that whatever course is written, it's representative of what the field needs. So this committee, I think this process was very important to determine that we need to form the subcommittee that's actually in our protocols called the Special Topic and Local Need Review Subcommittee. So I believe this process is probably going to, in the future, as we move forward, incorporate not only the special topic and local need, but the WECM comments at the same time, so that we're not duplicating efforts or creating one course here and one course here. So it needs to incorporate both, as far as what Madam Chair and I have spoken about regarding the overall picture of what this committee came up with. If you look in your packet, you'll see a spreadsheet, and each of the comment numbers from the field is indicated there. What it was related to, what area, and, I'm sorry, what the comment related to, correct, and then the topic of the course, and then the subcommittee's recommendation. And at the top, you can see there are several that are recommending WECM workshops based on changing technologies and marketing and gaming, jewelry, urology. A lot of these are recommendations for a workshop. New courses recommended in travel. A few of them were notifications that there's some accreditation standards changing that we need to take into consideration. And in that case, we need to decide if that should bring a WECM workshop or what we need to do. So, Madam Chair, do you want to go line by line, or do you want, how would you want to?
I certainly don't want to go line by line. I certainly don't line by line.
I understand that.
But there are some cases I think that we do need to talk about. Remember, there was some discussion of courses that impacted accreditation. And I know that Dr. Dozer, congratulations.
Thank you.
And Ayrton over there have concerns about cosmetology. And so we've talked about courses that impact accreditation need to move forward quickly in changing those for our institutions. And so I think we have in our protocol a way to be able to move that forward without having to do a workshop. So I don't think cosmetology was included in part of these comments, but certainly we have had at the forefront, but certainly we have had comments from around the state about cosmetology. And I would be remiss if I don't let Rhonda and Joe speak on cosmetology at this point. So either one of you can speak on cosmetology.
Okay, so I have a long history in cosmetology. I've been teaching cosmetology for over almost 30 years. I'm talking about my age now, off and on. But I'm going to tell you, this is a financial hit to the colleges that I don't think anyone has realized. I contacted our CFO as soon as I realized that they had slipped it into the Christmas tree bill after it didn't make it to the first round. I sent it to our CFO, they did the math on it, and it is a huge financial hit, huge for us. So whatever extra dollars they got in funding, cosmetology just took it back. So I don't think anybody realized that was happening. And we don't have an option. It's now a 1,000-hour course, 2 semesters, 15 hours basically, versus 42. And I don't think anybody really realized or even discussed the fact that for Title IV funding, it needed to lead to an associate's degree. So now we have 30-hour semester credit hour, that's 15 semester credit hours each semester, that leads to 1,000 hours, and then 30 academic hours so they can get financial aid. So it is a nightmare, and I wish that we had bound together tightly and fought this. I even asked, should I go pick at the governor's mansion? I mean, tell me what we need to do, because this was not, industry was not involved. They were not involved. There is no one in our area that I have talked to, and I've talked to people across the nation, because this is opening the door for a nightmare for other states. You know, we're the leader. So if this does, I believe, I talked to Steve Bruno with TDLR, and they're waiting on direction from, they've got to get it together. They just changed the test, so now they have to change it again, because now everything changes, the written test, the practical test, Barber was thrown in there. They're 1,000 hours now. They didn't have a clue that they were being cut back to 1,000 hours. So it affects their funding. Proprietary schools, they are in uproar because they have no, that's 500 hours of their financial status per student that they just lost, which is here or there. We have to wait for TDLR to come up with what is going to be mandated. Then our courses through the coordinating board can be selected to meet the new curriculum from TDLR. So I'm praying that it's 2 years, takes 2 years to get it all together, and then we can hit the legislation again.
Joe?
As Rhonda had mentioned, this was quite literally 4 keystrokes in a multi-page bill. TDLR's, the bill was HB 2847. It lists a multitude of licensing entities overseen by the Texas Department of Licensing and Regulation. So it's not just cosmetology. Please realize that's our hot button. But there may be other hot buttons sitting out there that we're not as connected to. And I guess part of my concern here is wanting to get this out so colleges can take a look at a bill and see what changes are coming. We can quantify cosmetology because of our connection to it, but there may be other landmines out there that we just generally don't step on. But it changed a bunch of the minimum state licensing requirements. And as Rhonda mentioned, it set in line this whole chain of events that they, TDLR, have to come up with a curriculum revision that we then have to find how to adapt into our curriculum and then change our programs, certificates and degrees to fit. It's this whole chain of events. As it sits right now, the bill's take effect date is September 1, with a 1 year
2019.
this year.
Okay.
With the first 1,000 hour licenses in cosmetology being offered in September 1, 2020. So that's the timeline that we're looking at right now. Is it's blazing fast. At least it feels that way to us, given all the interim work that has to get done.
To add to that, real estate was in there, driver's ed was in there. I mean, and CE, there's a lot of things in that bill that continuing ed departments will be impacted by. So it was literally a Christmas tree bill. That's what they called it, a Christmas tree bill.
And that's House Bill 2487? 2847.
Yes, HB 2847. There were several other bills that ended up inputting to it and Senate, but the one that moved through and ended up hitting the governor's desk for signature in early June started as HB 2847.
I'd also like to add, even at our local levels, at the college levels, if it didn't impact higher ed, it wasn't really something that was on the forefront. You know, so when I was reaching out to the organizations that I deal with, they had no clue that this was happening. They had no clue that cosmetology hours were going to be cut. So I don't know what the answer to that is, unless, you know, a new law needs to be created that anything that affects higher ed should be put in higher ed, because that definitely impacts in a big way.
So do we, I don't know, we don't have cosmetology, so I'm assuming we have to wait for TDLRN to make their recommendations and outline it before we can take action in the WECM, correct? Okay.
As it is structured in the recommendations, TDLR literally says, let me take the historical version. Here's 1,500 hours of instruction, and X hours is in this topic, Y in this, Z in this, total of 1,500 hours. They have to reconfigure that whole block.
What's the timeline? When are they going to do that? Do you know?
Good question to which I do not have a good answer. I do know that folks have engaged them directly and got sort of a, oh, we need to get on this response. But if you're looking at a clock time, I don't have an answer on that.
Well, I would think the clock would be ticking quickly if the first exam has to be done by September 2020.
Yes, ma'am, I hear a very loud clock ticking in the background.
Okay, which means that we have to, as the WECM Advisory Committee, also then be on alert that the moment that happens, we have to be able to change courses, to be able to react. I don't, so we have to be able to figure that out. Duane, I don't know if it's a purview of this committee, but I will ask anyway, to ask you if you could look into House Bill 2847 to see if there are any other state licensure changes that will impact the WECM so that we can have a strategic plan and some timelines that we can put in place in preparation of when those changes may or may take an impact, and how we will be able to be responsive of making those course changes in the field.
Yes, we'll
Thank
do
you.
that.
All right.
Rhonda, can I add something to y'all's conversations? And Mindy, I'm going to lean on you for some help. Shanna expressed some concern that also this will impact like placement and agreements between Texas and Oklahoma because there will now be a disconnect.
Yes, we're on a border city. Well, actually, we're 4 states, Oklahoma, Texas, and Arkansas. I have students from Louisiana, I have students from Arkansas, I have students from Oklahoma. And, you know, that's the majority, I would say about 60% of our students were state line, are in Texarkana, Arkansas. They have 1,500 hours. Louisiana has 1,500 hours. Oklahoma has 1,500 hours. I don't know what's going to happen there. There was no research. I had been hounding the governor's office for months, begging not to sign, and he signed on, I guess it was the Friday before Father's Day, which was the last day he had to sign.
Yeah, I remember, because you sent me an email.
And I'm going to say, and this is from what I understand, I'm going to say that this licensure law that's over on the TDLR side does not mandate a particular curriculum on the higher ed side.
I respectfully have to disagree.
Okay?
Because when it comes to the inspection of our college programs, one of the things we have to show is that we do teach the minimum hours and
Yes.
we do provide instruction with the minimum content list. Now, how we structure that, you know, what the courses look like, you're correct, that's our business. But how much is taught in an area and what the total quantity is, no, they flat out do mandate that and expect us to do it.
So they do impose that on you. That is not a higher ed, but they will impose that as part of your accreditation, basically.
As part of our licensing, we have to gain license from them to be recognized as an instructor program. They impose that as part of that licensing and review it as part of their annual inspection process.
Okay. Well, then I stand educated on that. I've had this conversation with individuals at the coordinating board, and that's the understanding I've received. But you have to have licensing there.
Yes.
Now, can you also have in addition to the curriculum that is not part of state licensing? Would TDLR allow that?
Please.
I specifically asked that question. We cannot go, the requirement for the test is 1,000 hours. We cannot exceed 1,000 hours and it be funded by Title IV funds unless it is academic courses that lead to an Associates of Applied Science.
Unless the additional hours.
Lead to an Associates of Applied Science that are not cosmetology, CSME courses, not hours. We cannot clock additional hours and Title IV funds pay for it.
And if I can step in on that one, then that puts us in a competitive question. Because if, as a college, I look at you and say, I've got this great program, come and take it. Oh, by the way, my program is a mile wide. But you can go down the street to somebody else who's not under the purview of the college, and their program is a half-mile wide. Excuse me, I want to go from where I am to work as quickly as I can. That forces us at a competitive disadvantage.
Right. So my thing was, come, and I even pulled the second semester students. At the time I had 20. I said, are y'all ready to graduate and go to work? You ready to take your test? Oh, no, absolutely not. So it is going to affect the industry. Texarkana is full of entrepreneurs we don't have a lot of chain salons. We're not a metroplex. The entrepreneurs are the students that graduate, go out, open their own salons, go to booth rent. There are salon owners that saying there's no way I will hire anybody that has just 1,000 hours. There's no way. So it's a nightmare. And yes, it does affect, and Dr. Peebles and I have been in direct contact for several months by email, and I guess nobody really understood that TDLR gives us a curriculum, anatomy and physiology, a certain number of class time hours have to be in anatomy and physiology, a certain number have to be in chemical reformation of the structure of the hair. So we have to have those courses that we can choose from to meet that curriculum. And it is, yes, it is directly connected. Now, the proprietary, no, they just do what they want to do, but we have to have a set curriculum, set courses that match TDLR's curriculum.
Then border states, Vernon, Texarkana, and others, or border colleges, I'm sorry, really are at a disadvantage as far as drawing from the student body across the state. And it sounds as though that has to be addressed legislatively. It sounds as though you don't have options.
If I can just sort of take my summary to it, this strikes me as one of those. But all we did was literally change 4 keystrokes in a law. Well, yes, but the rule of unintended consequences is now functioning at a cubed factor as this plays out into the implications to the colleges and the structures of the programs.
I left a voicemail on Governor Abbott's thing, and I said, I invite you to come and let a second semester student cut your family's hair. This will tell you what's going to happen to our industry. This will tell you. But it's like he said, it was unintended consequences. Nobody considered the fact that other students come from other states and reciprocity when they move to other states. Their Texas license is no longer good if their families or husbands gets transferred to Florida, or they have to go back to school. We are the only one of 3 states in the nation that has less than 1,500 hours. 3 states in the nation. We are now number 3.
Okay. Thank you all for that.
Just a party shot. We recognize that today there's not action to be taken. I mean, sorry, other folks
Right.
have to
No,
do stuff,
no.
but we felt the need to send the shot across the bow. Again, not just for cosmetology, where our buttons are pushed there, but for these other programs. And if I can talk WECM for a second, if the idea of WECM is triggers set this off, we view this as a major trigger, folks. Thank you.
Thank you for that very healthy and hearty discussion. And again, these are some of the things, as you've stated, Leslie, as Robin, as Cindy, as others on this committee, Duane, stated very, very clearly, these are things that usually come up in conversations in a WECM workshop where it is then discussed among faculty, who then take it back to their colleges. Their colleges then learn information and talk with legislative aides within their institution, who then talk to local state representatives, and that's how things work, not only from the top down, but also from the bottom up. And so when you're missing that piece as well from the bottom up, sometimes we do not get that bubble from the bottom, because everything usually our colleges look at is in the higher ed realm. And so being able to have colleges and faculty that are aware and very close to things that will impact the WECM, will impact our colleges, will impact higher education, because most of our legislative staff are not aware of other things that are at that level. They're looking at things that are proposed on the higher ed agenda legislatively. And the coordinating board as well. They look at things that are proposed on the higher ed legislative agenda. And so a lot of times you are not looking at those licenses, things that are buried in other committees. But again, it was just opportunities as we form welcome workshops that faculty then are aware of those things and they bubble up. James?
I just have a question. Hey, Rhonda, I guess same thing for Joe. Have you made the news media aware of this? And I probably shouldn't say that, but I bet you this, that, you know, of this situation, because I'm sure news media outlets would eat this all up.
We are not going to comment on that. Thank you very much. As we move on, it just does support the need of having conversations with faculty at that level.
And let me dive in here. You have it in your protocols via either, as I understand it, either the volume or nature of comments or via triggers to call workshops. It sounds as though, as someone said, this is a trigger. Now, you don't have the cyclical workshop, so you know you're responding post facto, not ahead of it. But this could, with the real estate, become a workshop. So I want to point that out to you, that while we don't have the cyclical workshops anymore, you do have the ability to call that workshop.
Protocol expert over here.
We have, in our protocol manual, we have 3 workshops, 3 model workshops. Model 1 is when you have a discipline-related courses that need to be updated, that are based on triggers, which this fits into, but that's more of a, where we select specialists and so on. Model 2 might be the best fit for this, because Model 2 involves colleges that offer similar courses. So all of us don't offer cosmetology, and it can be actually bubbled up and led by a college. So Rhonda, Joe, maybe you guys could be the lead college on this. I'll read you what Model 2 says. The process involves colleges that offer similar courses to convene instructional specialists for cooperative collaboration, networking, production of new WECM courses. These courses may be submitted to the WECM Advisory Committee for review and recommendation of the appropriate subcommittee. So that might be the quickest way to have something move forward. There's the Model 3, but that's, that you could have one of the associations do it, but that's a process sponsored by a discipline-specific professional association in a workshop format, and supported and led by workforce education administrators. So I don't know, any of them we can move fast if we have, it'd be easier if we had a college lead on it.
Fine. I'd be glad to do it.
Well,
If that's the
Once you get TDL
yeah, and we will work with the coordinating board to align a workshop and see where we are by putting in timelines. But what we want to do is be clear and intentional of looking at all the impacts of HB 2847, so the coordinating board would be able to use their resources wisely, and as we move forward, how many workshops that are triggered by a licensing or accreditation issue. Okay.
And
Technical question, if I could. I agree that Model 2 is probably the fastest way to deal with it. Technical question is this. If TDLR produced, making this up, on August 1st, a set that said, this is what the 1,000-hour curriculum would be like, how quickly could we turn around such a Model 2 workshop? Do we have to come back to seek permission to generate one?
No, and that's why I said we will be having a conversation with the coordinating board staff to look at resources, where they are, and to be able to strategically plan. That's why we want to be able to do this, to see how quickly we can plan and turnaround, and whether or not we would ask one of the host colleges to host it, whether we would host it here at the coordinating board, how we would do it, what's the best way to do it, what's the quickest way to do it, but what is also the most efficient way to be able to do that.
And there's always the virtual possibility as well.
That is probably needs to be a face-to-face conversation, because they're gonna be heating it out. Okay, so it is now 11:41, and if we would like to, well, after you close your recommendation of the special topics of
Or the
how you're gonna
comments.
move those to that, yeah.
Well, how about if we take that up when I go through the protocol changes? Would that be okay, Madam Chair? Because what we're
Well, I
going
do.
what we need to do is consider, or Duane, do you have?
Well, yeah, I do, I guess kind of need a little bit of finish up. First, a little, these are the comments that were handed out at the February meeting, and so I'm sure you all have them at the bottom of your recycle bin or wherever. But just, that's how they're cross-referenced. But one of the comments, one of the things they acted on, and it's number 40, is to create a new course in HITT. That course is also presented in front of the, and it's at the end of the course revisions. And so I wanted to bring this forward to the, this is the course that this subcommittee recommended, the HITT, and it's 2330, 2430 as a new course. Actually, they only recommended the 4-hour course again, but from what I hear, some colleges are offering a 3-hour version, some offering a 4-hour version.
Would you make that 48 hours also then?
Yes, and that's what I was about to ask or suggest, that I just basically made a mirror course, but in light of our previous discussions, we'll go ahead and change that to 48 for the 3-hour course.
So we probably need to actually vote on this one, right?
Right.
Okay.
So this was, recommendation from the comments committee to create this new
Okay,
course.
so this committee then is recommending, thank you for reminding me, Duane, that this course be put into the WECM, this pathophysiology and pharmacology course.
Madam Chair, this is a course that I helped work part of the process with there. I agree with everything that's been said. I do ask one other thought, though. Note that there is not a lab recommended note there, but in talking with the folks out there, there is that thought that there ought to be some recommendation that way. I would ask if we could add that phrase too. Again, we cannot mandate it, and the hours don't mandate it, but we can at least suggest.
Yeah, I would think a lab would be needed on a patho class.
No, it's all didactic lecture.
Yeah, I would think so. So as the subcommittee chair recommends revises her request for recommendation.
Yes, to include the lab recommended, and correction, I'm not the chair.
Oh, that's right, Rob is.
Rob
is the
Blair is the chair.
of this subcommittee.
That's right. We would like to recommend that this committee consider pathophysiology and pharmacology be added to the WECM with the minimum contact hours of 48 in a 3-semester hour course, and add the lab recommended recommendation to the course.
Okay. The subcommittee, based on the subcommittee recommendation that's been brought forth by Robin Garrett, on behalf of the chair, subcommittee chair, Rob Blair, and the coordinating board staff, Duane Hiller, I ask for a motion to approve the recommendation, please.
So moved, ma'am.
It has been moved. Can I get a second, please?
Second.
And moved and second, thank you, Mary, as well, that this recommendation be accepted with the changes as noted and brought forth. May I have a vote of aye for those who are in favor? Aye. Any nays? Okay. With that, then this recommendation has been accepted and approved that the pathophysiology and pharmacology course be written into the WECM with changes as noted. Okay, so with that, I think lunch is here. Well, what time are we scheduled for lunch? 12 o'clock?
I believe so.
It's here.
I think it's here, yeah.
It's here. So we could either take a small break, or we can go ahead and break for lunch right now and then come back. We got a couple of, we got 9, 10, 11, and 11. We got 3 agenda items left. So why don't we break for lunch and be back? You want a 30-minute lunch? That's too long. 12.
12:30.
Okay, 12:30? Okay, 12:30. Let's be back at 12:30. Okay, for those of you listening, we're going to take a break, and we'll be back online at 12:30. Mary will be back at 12:30.
Yes, ma'am. Enjoy your lunch.
All right. Okay. We are resuming the agenda item that is before us. And I think the proposal was to finish out agenda item 8 within agenda item 9. Okay. All right. Now, Madam Sub-Chair.
Yes, because this one I am a trip chair. Okay, I'm going to jump to 9. I'm going to talk about the WECM protocols, and then we're going to incorporate the comments into that. The WECM protocol manual that was sent to you this week by Duane Hiller is updated with the changes that were approved at the February meeting. So this is, at this moment, a final document, except Olga found a few typo and little grammatical things that needed to be changed in the CE special topic local need process. So even though that's not really part of the protocol, I will make those changes and we'll just keep that updated with the coordinating board. So you have a completed protocol manual in front of you, and as you saw earlier or heard earlier, I referred to that for those models, and hopefully we'll continue to refer to our protocol manual, and should things need to be updated, we can do that and vote on the changes moving forward. In the packet that was provided on your table, I believe it's the, oh, where did it go? It's somewhere in the middle. It has the, yes, the standing subcommittees and the procedures that we voted on last time for the non-credit special topic and local need review subcommittee and the semester credit hour special topic and local need review subcommittee. Based on the information that was gleaned from the comments subcommittee, you'll see in there where it says need more information from local need and special topic review, need to review more WECM comments, and then of course the recommendations for a workshop. In the process, in order to facilitate all that, we need to have the subcommittee that we all agreed to in the protocol for the credit special topic and local need review subcommittee to be enacted and formed so that we can begin reviewing those courses and move forward with actions, since those courses really haven't been reviewed in, what, about 4 years, Duane? About that? Yeah. So, what are your thoughts on forming this subcommittee to do that work?
I never really agree. I think so that's a really good idea to have two subcommittees.
I think that will bring us closer to what the coordinating board is looking to this committee to do, to start working on the courses that are out there that we need to look at for then considering workshops or just updating information, whatever the subcommittee decides is appropriate in their actions. And we have the procedure for that subcommittee to follow in your packet as well. So, Madam Chair, I'm recommending that we form this subcommittee.
Okay. Let me ask, when we form a subcommittee, you all know that I like to ask for volunteers to lead subcommittees. So I think we already heard Mr. Hawkins talk about TASTE wanting to continue their involvement in reviewing special topics and local need courses or special topic courses for non-credit. And so we already know that whoever chairs that committee, and I have to talk about whether we want one chair that chairs the entire Special Topics and Local Needs Review Subcommittee, or will we have two? Or do we have 1, 2, 3, 4? Because there are 4 subcommittees here. Or do we have 4 subcommittee chairs? Or do we have 1 chair of all 4 committees? How would you all like that? That's a hefty lift.
In the past, the TACE committee chaired and handled all of the non-credit special topic and local need review
I know.
themselves. So if we, we
But
want to,
they always came back to a
That's right.
person. So my question to you all, you have listed in protocol 1, 2, 3, 4 subcommittees. Now, that doesn't mean we have to have 4 subcommittee chairs. My question is to this committee, do we want to have 1 chair of all 4 subcommittees, or we want to have 4 chairs of each committee?
I have a question. If we pick it up only one person, we are talking about 4 subcommittees. They have to meet in 4 times, 4 subcommittees 4 times a year, plus this committee. I think so for one person is too much work. However, because special topics for CE and for credit or local needs, they have to communicate. They have to be very close because we don't want it, maybe CE and credit, they are doing exactly the same. That's the problem I can see. Maybe we wanted 2 chairs because there are too many meetings. That's what I can see
That's a
it.
good point.
I mean,
Anybody else?
Maybe co-chair.
Mike, your mic. Your mic.
I would recommend co-chairs, one for credit, one for non-credit.
Okay. Anybody else? Anyone else? Okay. There is a committee for course revision and archival purposes. There's a committee for credit special topics and local need. There's a committee for non-credit special topics and local need. And there's a committee for professional development courses. I can see where professional development courses and the non-credit courses would cross. Most of the professional development courses that are now existing in the WECM are CE, non-credit. So I could see whoever takes on that responsibility as a chair would have those 2 combined. The course revision and archival subcommittee basically is a committee that would be looking at all courses, credit and non-credit, based on protocols. And then the credit, special topics, and local need courses, then so based on this discussion, do I have any volunteers?
I would like to do for credit, a special topic and local needs review subcommittee.
Okay. Any other volunteers?
Yeah, I will, I'll take the non-credit special topic local need
And professional development?
and professional development. And I can do credit and, I can do it all. No, I'm not volunteering.
You're the Superman. Look at that.
Okay. Now, okay, so we need, Dr. Griffin, would you take the course revision and archival subcommittee?
Yes, Madam Chair.
So I think we have it. I did not want to approve the protocols without having a science committee chair because I know that Duane is ready to dumped those 4 years of special topics and local needs, and he needed to be able to know who he needed to dump those with the moment we passed these final protocols. So, at this point, it has been presented by the subcommittee chair that we accept the protocols as presented and written. She and her committee have done a yeoman's work on this. Thank you. And we have wordsmithed this to death. And I really appreciate you and your committee for the hard work they've done to get to us to this point.
Thank you very much, Madam Chair.
So at this point, I'd like to get a motion to approve the Welcome Protocol Manual as presented.
I make a motion to approve the WECM protocol as amended or stated.
Thank you, James.
I would second.
It has been moved and seconded that we accept the Welcome Protocol Manual as presented and written and amended by the subcommittee chaired by Robin Garrett. I'm going to call for a vote. All of those who are in favor of the recommendation, please say so by identifying as aye.
Aye.
Those who are opposed, identify as saying nay. Okay, with that, then it is, the motion has been passed, and we now have a Welcome Protocol Manual finalized. Now, with that, your subcommittee has not yet finished. I would also propose, as part of the conversation and dialogue that we have been having here about licensure, about welcome workshops, those triggers, how quickly we need to respond, that we also now look at a protocol of how we will now look at differently, look at how we will put together welcome workshops, how those can be actually triggered by we have a trigger, licensure trigger, but we don't have a process in our protocol anymore because we were asked to step away from the welcome workshop cycle. So we've never then established a way for us to actually host welcome workshops. And so I think it's appropriate now that we look at protocols in which we can work with the coordinating board to design a process in which we can have welcome workshops, probably never on a cyclical manner again, but ahead of issues that may be coming down the road, or looking at triggers that we know that are trends that are coming. So I'm going to ask your protocol committee to continue to look at that and work with coordinating board staff on a way we can figure out how we will then
How we will actually implement a workshop.
Yes. Any other things that we want to charge this subcommittee with? Okay, well, hearing none, we will then go on to move to agenda item 10. Oh, I'm sorry, we're still on 9. Any other subcommittee reports other than the protocol? Okay. All right. All right, now, agenda item 10, future agenda items and resources required for next meeting. I will hear from the coordinating board any recommendations they have at this point of agenda items that I know we've given you and charged you with some things, Duane, to look into. However, there may be some things that we could not get to today that you have found that you would like for us to address. So I'll start with you first.
Okay, off the top of my head, I can't think of any.
Oh, good.
Sorry.
Mindy?
The one thing I would have talked about is how workshops are going to be handled, and you're going to address that, so I'm good.
I think that should be noted as an agenda item so that we get it done by the next workshop, actual process for approval.
Yes, and the coordinating board has kind of standard methods whereby subcommittees form under committees, and these workshops will need to work consistently with that. So we will want to work with you to make sure we've got something that's consistent.
Okay.
You'll be hearing from me.
Okay, now I will hear from the committee itself, starting with Mr. Ayrton. Joe, can you think of anything besides cosmetology?
With that caveat, no. I do think there is that need to have that monitoring mechanism. So as things are working through, especially as we're coming into legislative cycles, that we do not get surprised by changes. The one caveat I would add to the previous discussion is, I think Rhonda mentioned, the cosmetology issue was a standalone bill that died, and then we stopped looking.
Right.
And that was a strategic error on our part. As a group, I could see that as an easy thing happening in all areas. Well, that's not going to happen, then all of a sudden it does. I don't know how to monitor that, but that is now a concern to me.
Okay. I'm going to ask Mary, you're on the line. Are there agenda items you would like to have put on the agenda for the next meeting?
Yeah, basically what you've already discussed was the workshops that are upcoming and probably the reports for the subcommittees.
Okay. All right. Now.
I agree with our first comment concerning how do we know or find out about any changes that the legislature has approved? Because as he was saying, sometimes we don't continue to look even though we should have, or maybe we're not even expecting it and it just happens. And I don't know which agency, which person, how this information could get out to everyone at the colleges, because there are a lot of colleges that are not here. Do they know about HB 2847? That's my question.
I think Leslie. Okay.
Just wanted to applaud again the cloud computing, and I think these triggers with the cosmetology or whichever ones we can use the basis of the cloud computing one that we had as an example. You know, as a good trigger, we had a trigger because of industry. We came together on that day, came with curriculum, and I think that can continue forward.
There's one thing I'd like to consider, maybe even continue to discuss today. Planning these meetings. We used to plan them out and have dates set quarterly, and the way we're doing it now, we don't know, and we're trying to plan it on the fly. And as you can see, we've had a lot of members that couldn't attend, where I think if we get some dates set, we used to sit around and say, okay, yes, I can, this day, it might help all of us to be able to plan better and not come up with the conflicts.
That it was something that I was going to suggest today as well. But go ahead.
I don't want to address the meetings of the schedule because the chairman is going to address, but I wanted not only to look in cosmetology, also to have an information for real estate and driver's ed. I think so we need to let to another college what happened with this House bill.
I just have a comment. Cosmetology is just the tip of the iceberg. It could be fire academy. It could be, we have to watch this stuff. You know, if we have these occupational programs in the colleges, then while it might not fall under higher ed legislation, it is going to have a huge impact.
Duane, any agenda items for the future?
Only potentially to keep some type of WECM professional development on the agenda for the TACTI conference or somewhere. I think looking at some of the courses that were written, they did a great job. I'm sure on the content part of it. I know you start comparing some of the levels of outcomes versus the level of course and whether or not there needs to be a lab with those types of things. It goes back to some of that professional development I know that we've been talking about for some time. I know TACTI would like to have it as part of their conference in April. So I'd like to, if we can, maybe keep that on the agenda that we figure some way, whether it doesn't necessarily have to be a workshop, or if it's an update. I know we have the WECM 101 out there. If it's something that we can just bring to those folks in general. Somebody was talking about that 60% of their workforce department chairs and instructors have been there less than 2 years. We haven't done workshops in 4. So some of those people have no idea. They've come out of industry. They don't even, again, like I said, know what those letters stand for. So.
May I make a comment here? The WECM section at TACTI, it strikes me that it would be a very good thing for some committee members to collaborate with the coordinating board staff on. Would you all be willing to be party to that? And forgive me if I'm thinking that you're wanting Duane to do all of it, but okay. But I really, you all have a lot of wisdom and background in WECM. I think if there is to be a TACTI WECM session, it would be much lacking if we did not have representation among the presenters by WECM Advisory.
I kind of feel like I might be a historian here and keep saying we used to, but in the past, we used to do that. And at TACRO, I gave several years in a row. At TACRO, I was able to present WECM as a whole and do training at that conference and at TACTI and at TACE. And I think you're right on the money that people from this committee with the knowledge could definitely participate.
Okay, thank you.
I propose for that. I like to propose all the time, but I think that people that have more acknowledged here in this committee, that's these 2 ladies in WECM, and maybe we can learn from them also, because I'm kind of new, and then I'm learning every time that I come in here, but maybe they are the one that should to present the conference in TACE on TACTI.
Well, I'm thinking of a coordinating board presence in collaboration with WECM Advisory presence.
It's great, but sometimes, and don't take really offense, I wanted to do the best way that I can say it. Sometimes it's better to be working. It's nice a collaboration, but sometimes we feel more relaxed, more comfortable when we have somebody from our own people to tell us. And maybe you can be the support for us when you have to jump in when we are not doing something right. That's
Well,
what I think.
and that would ultimately be up to the TACTI board, to decide how to put a workshop together. But it pleases me that we would have WECM Advisory Board members
You also
kind
gotta
of front
keep
and
in-
center with this.
Go ahead,
I'm
Jen.
sorry, you also got to keep in mind not everyone's a member of TACTI or that. So I'm not. And I know about WECM, but I know a lot of my colleagues aren't members of those, so how we reach out to them as well. So that's.
Join and pay your fee.
Okay. So it seems as though that what we're looking at as a future agenda item is looking at how we would arrange with the with the TACTI board, how would we become a part, how would WECM become a part of their conference? WECM is already a part of TACTI, TACE, where there is always the 101 that's out there, inclusive of also an additional welcome update that's out there. And I think what Duane is saying, that there's a definite need, because usually deans for the divisions of CTE attend TACTI, and if we have 60% of our deans that are new to our colleges, it is definitely an opportunity for hands-on learning. And so respectfully, I understand what Olga was saying, that hands-on use of the welcome and being able to help with professional development sometimes comes best from the field, because they've been involved with it, they know the impact. Not that the coordinating board staff could not be there to be engaged of what is then the coordinating board role of the process of the welcome and the oversight of that. So I think that's a great agenda item to continue to have put forth, because it ties in with the need for professional development. It ties in with succession planning for our colleges, for those of us who are looking at retirement. And so,
Madam Chair,
yes.
picking up on the comment of newness, I understand with the TACTI and TACE, TACRO, okay. If newness is an issue, might it also be a newness issue at the instructional level?
Yes, and I think that's what James was saying, we're
If
talking
that is the
about.
case, do we need to look at some collaboration with TCCTA?
And that's what James was talking about.
Good. If that's the case, let me move it the other way. Are we assuming knowledge above the dean level? I mean, if new presidents have come to colleges or institutions, and maybe not from within Texas itself, are we assuming a knowledge base at the strategic level command that's maybe not a fair assumption? How do you educate people at the top of the food chain as well at the bottom?
Are there any conferences that they can go to? You know, you said TCCTA. Do those guys at that level have like administrative conferences that they go to?
They do. So it feels like one of the next agenda item is about professional development at all levels of the community colleges, about not only welcome, but the process of how important and how vital welcome really is to community colleges, and the impact that things legislatively have, industry has on welcome and courses that then impact our financial stability at our institutions and accreditation, period. So Cindy.
So, Madam Chair, I'm not certain if this is a potential agenda item, but it may be more of a question. In Rob's comments to us regarding the WECM comment process, he states revisions could certainly be made to improve the process. And so have those already been addressed? Or is that something that this committee needs to consider?
It is definitely something that this committee needs to consider. And I think what Rob was talking about, again, how does the welcome comments trigger a workshop? How does the welcome comments trigger changes that needs to be done? And again, that's part of trying to figure out how do we do that within the purview of the coordinating board and their structure that they currently have. And it's my understanding that the coordinating board is currently working on the welcome comment structure. And we know for the last 4 years, with the welcome comments being our only trigger, again, it has not been the most impactful or effective and being able to make the changes that we needed to make. And I think those are the lines that I think Rob was going down. Now, if you don't think I've covered everything, please.
Yeah, the only thing that I might add to that is the communication route. It had been going through the chief academic officers, and I mean, and I can just only speak for myself, that, you know, as the CAO, whenever you're sending that out to your technical programs, there are times whenever you get a good response and times when you do not. And granted, that's more internal, but thinking about that whole communication process into the institutions, because we had talked about that early on.
we did.
That's the only thing I could think of.
And let me go ahead and respond to that. Let me just tell you what we have under plan and hope to implement during this summer. We want to communicate broadly with the field. We have, through delivery.gov, a CTE subscription list that's got that anybody can join, and that has maybe 1,300 members. We want to use that list, not strictly the CIO or CAO list. We want to send out communication kind of explaining, again, the changes that have taken place in WECM oversight. We think there's still a good body of people in the field who don't really know how the new WECM works. We want to follow that up with periodic calls from Duane for comments. We want to do some internal retooling in the way the system is managed to make it easier for Duane to compile those comments. That's internal to us. We also want to open up who can submit comments beyond what I think it currently is, which is the CSTC liaison to be the submitters, or
Oh, it's open, right? WECM comments is open to anybody.
is it open to anybody? Okay, because that's,
We're referring
in
to
her
that memo
file.
that goes out
It's
in
a-
April or.
okay, okay.
In certain colleges, I think, it's certain colleges, and it's local protocols, certain colleges, they only allow certain people to do that. But as far as the coordinating board access, anybody can access it. You're right.
Yes, okay. And what we would want only is that submissions to comments have the sign-off of the institution. I remember when I was a faculty member, if I'd had the opportunity, I could have made any number of suggestions about my courses, but they wouldn't necessarily have had the sign-off of my administration. But that's in brief what we hope to do, and I think it's going to take some time to get the field educated and participating fully in the WECM comments apparatus, but we will make a start in that direction.
Is there anything else, Cynthia?
No, thank you.
Rhonda, you want to say something before?
Just going to get, for clarification, so y'all are working towards just someone from the institution making the comment, not the faculty members? Is that what I understand?
No, what I've been told, and again, I'm still getting up to speed here, what I've been told is that at a certain point, we wanted CSTC liaisons to be the go-between for comments. Now, you're telling me that anyone can submit comments, that it may be at the local college's discretion who's allowed to do so. We're not saying we want a single entity to submit those comments. We're saying, however comments are submitted, we would like to have some assurance that those comments have been signed off by the institution. Okay. Does that answer your question? Okay.
Vernon?
Madam Chair, I have a comment and I guess an offer, and it relates to the agenda item on the WECM workshops. I know, as you know, TACE has always had usually multiple WECM workshops. We also reach out to new members and have a new member session just for them. This year, we're talking about doing a pre-conference WECM, and generally what we have, it's somebody from the organization, and then somebody usually from coordinating board staff or even from this group that will work with us in order to put on those sessions. And under Joyce, you've done an excellent job. Duane, I know he's done it a few years, and I think I've done it. Kristen Walker, past president's done it. A lot of people come in. The only thing I would say to TACT or to any other organization, you know, this is not something you have to do from scratch. If you want to just reach out to me, I can tell you what we've done, maybe give you some ideas. And I'm always willing to work with you or somebody from our group. Frank Graves has done a number of different WECM workshops. I know he's a part of a TACTI as well. So I don't think that you have to take this as a new kind of initiative. There are a number of options out there and a number of people, I think, who would assist you in putting that together. So that's, like I said, that's my offer and my comment on that issue. I have no other agenda items at this time.
And the only other thing that I would also offer is that if there is an opportunity in which there is a trigger for us, and I think that was the other thing, if there is a trigger in industry or a trigger for a workshop, that could be an opportunity to actually offer that welcome workshop at that time based on that trigger. And that then too is a model for people who are there. The same with, you know, TASTE. Is an opportunity to host the workshop at that time and have other people actually observe the workshop so that they can learn, they can see the workshop going on, a full workshop with a facilitator and all the other things that we usually go through. So there definitely could be an opportunity if there is a trigger, and there are plenty of opportunities to be able to host a workshop in April. So with that, thank you very much. We are on number 11, timelines and future meetings, and looks like Duane is already looking at the schedule. When, and maybe at this point, we could try to plan. If we cannot plan all 4 meetings ahead, maybe we can plan at least 2 ahead. So, with that, Duane, this is July. When would be our next meeting? September? No, October, wouldn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, yeah. No, that's fine. Last week of September, last week of October. So we're looking at those dates, everybody.
The last week of September, the coordinating board has the CSTC liaison meeting.
Oh, okay.
Date saved for 28-29, Monday, Tuesday. FYI.
That are, I see September 28th and 29th is Saturday and Sunday.
Right, so it
October 28, 29 is Monday and Tuesday. 28 and 29.
Okay, apologies, I am in October. We've got a Mac to Windows interface issue here.
okay.
Sorry.
So going back to September,
I think so, September. To continue on Thursday, you wanted to do Friday, is 27.
anybody have problems with September 27th? A Friday? Anybody have problems with September 26th, Thursday?
I have a commitment on Thursday.
Preference is Thursday.
Say again, Mary?
I said the preference is to have it on Thursday, the 26th.
Thursday?
You've got a problem with the 26th also? Right, same with me.
Okay. Okay. Anyone else? Okay. James, what'd you say?
Called back, yes, the 27th.
27. Okay, Mary, will the 27 work for you?
What was the date? I'm sorry?
27th of September. A lot of people have
That's right.
conflicts on the 26th.
The Friday? I
Yeah,
can make it work if I need to, yes.
okay. All right, we're gonna try, Duane, to plan for September the 27th. Okay, so let's try to do the next meeting. September, October, December meeting. Now, December is gonna be difficult. Yeah, December is hard, y'all,
About the first week of January.
but not the first week.
Oh, not the, well, but you know, I mean January.
Yeah.
The 20th this year.
You start the classes? We start the
21st?
Right.
Oh, yeah, that's true. 20 is the, yeah, it's Martin Luther King. Yeah, ours is 13. That's 21st.
Okay, what about the last of January? Not the 30th, but the last week, the week of the 27th.
Mindy, you usually schedule the leadership presentations the end of January. Do you have a schedule for it?
We don't have a date set yet, so pick a date. We'll work around you.
January 30th?
I don't do Fridays.
Oh, the 30th, which one is Thursday?
30th or 31st works for me.
30.
Mary,
Thursday?
what about January the 30th?
January 30th would be great.
All right. Done. So Duane, will you see if the board is available on January 30th, 2020? And then send it out to everyone so that everybody can put on their calendar. So we got
Go for April while we're on a roll.
The noodle.
Yeah. So he'll send that out. I don't know if you guys want to plan for April, but
How about April 30th?
do y'all want to go for April?
Yes.
Okay. There's Cacti is the first week. Uh-huh.
Okay, and then
So April 30th. Mary, how about April 30th?
Looks good.
So then you're back to July. You all want to go for July 30th again?
Sure. Well, that's a long way off.
That's a long way off.
wait, then let's go to state.
But if we get there, then we don't have this kind of problem.
Yeah. So July 30th, Duane. So we've now planned all for the full year.
Yeah.
And if you have vacation, I suggest you take your vacation and be rested up for the next year.
You're on vacation now.
Look at that dedication.
So happy.
Thank you for helping us make our quorum. Okay, with that, are there any other updates from the coordinating board? And since we do have to follow our agenda as posted, there are no other agenda items that this committee would have. And so with that, if there are no closing comments, I give you this. Thank you for your service this year. I am very pleased that each of you have been committed to this process and to this committee. And for those new members that are joining us, I thank you for your commitment to your organizations and the services that you will be rendering for the next year. So with that, we are adjourned. I know, you can't say it because I mess it up every time.
Exactly.